First, we're going to go over the binds necessary to do the tricks in this game. So we're going to go into Game, Controls, Remap Keys. So I'll go over everything that's important here. To a single button, I'd recommend for the purpose of this that you rebind to these exact keys so you won't have too many complications when looking at my inputs and trying to figure things out. And you can remap them later to something that feels better if you so desire. Block/offhand, roll, and jump, all on Y. I also have roll and jump on their own binds, A and B, respectively. Strong attack has no particular use, so you can bind that to whatever, or just bind it all to keyboard, so you don't have to worry about it. Attack on right trigger. Use item and switch loadout, both on RB. I think that's it. So the first thing that's going to allow us to do is the long jump. So a normal jump in this game looks like this. Nothing too impressive. You can also see how much stamina it uses up. Not much. So here's a long jump. This trick is probably the bread and butter of Salt and Sanctuary runs that use any form of glitch. It's very fast. Allows for very flowy movement through levels. The way it's executed is by hitting the Y button, because that's going to roll and jump at the same time. That's how you do this trick. You can see me here recreating it with A and B as well. And so, there's more to it as well. You have to manipulate the joystick a particular way to get the maximum distance out of it. For example, I want to jump to the right, so if I'm holding right and then press the bind, I'll just do a normal jump, albeit with a larger stamina cost. If I hold no inputs on the joystick and press the button, I'll go a pretty moderate distance, definitely further than a normal jump. However, to get the max range out of these jumps, you want to start with a neutral input, press the button, and then switch to the direction that you're facing. So if I want to jump to the right, I'm going to start with a neutral input on the joystick, press Y, and then hold right immediately after. And that goes a lot further. Very cool. Next we have offhand jumping. Offhand jumping requires that you have an offhand weapon equipped that you can aim. So this can be a wand with a spell, a crossbow, or a pistol. And they all have to be fireable, which means you have to have ammo and you have to be able to, you have to have the skill necessary to use them. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to start with a jump, and then we're going to hold the Y in midair. You don't actually really have to hold it. You're going to tap Y, and that'll start the casting animation. And then as soon as that animation starts, you're going to hold down the right trigger, because that's your attack button. So you jump, press Y, hold right trigger, and then while you're in midair, you can continue to mash Y. And you'll jump, and then start casting again, and that, because you're holding down the attack button, resets it, so you can continue this indefinitely. With using the wand, you're basically limited speed-wise to how fast you can mash. You'll notice I kind of do these little scuffed long jumps because the button is on Y, so if you want to prevent that, based on the information we learned just a moment ago, you can hold to the left or to the right to stifle the distance gained. If you want to intentionally do a long jump, it's important that you make sure you have enough stamina. So for example, I could do this, you could jump a few times. But you'll notice at a certain point I'm out of stamina, but if you fall for long enough, you'll start regaining stamina again, and then you can start over. With pistols or guns, you can also gain height much more quickly because you don't have to sit through the animation of the spell revving up, like this. But the quickest of all is using a throwing knife, or any thrown consumable like this. Knives are convenient because you can get them very early on in the game. You could probably get grenades as well to do the same thing. This is all I've actually tested with it though. So here's how this differs now. So instead of doing this, that way. We're going to jump and alternate between the X and Y button to gain height much more rapidly. The proper way to do these is to jump, hit X, start holding attack, and then Y, X, Y, X, Y, X, Y, X, etc. Next, let's take a look at ladder hovers. It's a very easy trick to do. You get on a ladder, make sure you're holding up or down, otherwise you'll just drop off, and you're going to press the Y bind repeatedly. If at any point you stop pressing the Y bind, you'll dismount the ladder, and you'll just be standing on an invisible platform in the air. To avoid standing on that invisible platform, you want to press A to cancel the fall, or cancel that animation instead, which is the equivalent of just dropping off the ladder normally like this. Now's a good time to explain how some of the fall damage stuff works. Fall damage in this game is calculated from where you were last standing on solid ground to where you end up. So let's see. If I jump all the way down here, I'll sustain fall damage. That's a pretty good amount too. About half my health. However, if I start on this platform and go straight up, it doesn't matter how high, and then fall back down, I'll take no fall damage because I'm on the same exact starting height. We can apply this to the ladder hover as well. Only in the instance of the A dismount though. If I do this, this becomes my new solid ground. So if I go over here or if I fall too far, I will take fall damage for sure. So if I want to avoid fall damage, I'll press A. That's assuming you land on a similar level here though. Next, let's talk about multicasting. Multicasting is a technique that allows you to rapidly cast incantations. Incantations are spells that do not require a wand or staff to use. So for example, Flashfire is a spell because it requires a wand, and Wildfire is an incantation. It just gets placed on this bar down here. Multicasting is when you cancel the animation of casting your incantation with another animation. So normally it looks like this. I'll mash as fast as I can for just using this ability. Pretty slow. Nothing too impressive there. You'll also notice I take the fatigue hit to my stamina as well. So that limits the amount of casts you can do. However, if I were to cast this and jump at the same time, like that, I could cast it on repeat as soon as I hit the ground, assuming I don't mess it up. So this can be done with rolling or jumping. The way I use it in runs, however, is off the animation of switching your item loadouts here. So since those are bound together on R1 or RB, you can just mash that as fast as you can. It's a real nice sound out of that. Despite this method of multicasting being as fast as it is, it's worth noting that these incantations, namely Wildfire and Dark Swarm, they have a cap on their DPS output. So spamming as fast as you humanly can versus casually spamming like this will kind of yield the same speed for any given fight. Don't go too slow though, but you also don't have to mash like a madman. Well, first let's go into the hat glitch. So I'll explain what you're supposed to do for this and then do it, because it's kind of has to be done all in quick succession, so explaining it as I go might not be the best option. You have to use a bell from the inventory, like so, and then you're going to hover your cursor. This can be done with the mouse, which is what I prefer, or by actually just moving it with the D-pad or controller, however you want. But you have to hover over something, it doesn't matter which. And you're not going to click or anything, you're just going to leave the cursor over the desired slot. And then after a moment, something interesting happens. So right now I have the naked challenge, which means I can't equip any armor anywhere. So we're going to fix that. Pausing, using a bell. I prefer to click it, and then hit space twice. I'm going to pause, hover over the helmet slot, and for some reason, as you warp, it brings up the menu to equip a helmet. So there, now I'm wearing armor during a naked challenge. However, this can be further extended, let's say. Why not use a piece of armor as a spell, perhaps? So now, by equipping this helmet in the spell slot for our staff, it gives us Dark Reach, which is a pretty powerful late game spell. The bell does not get consumed as long as the animation doesn't finish being used. This can be done in a few ways. It can be done by canceling the animation of the bell by landing on the ground, as you see here. You can jump in midair and use the bell at the same time, which does take a little bit of practice. But the animation of you landing back on the ground cancels it. So you'll notice I still have 2 bells. And you still warp despite not having it consumed. It's useful for a few things. So now I'm going to do something interesting, because this is the last area we rested at, but it's not our creed, so we can desecrate it, which is what I intend to do here. What I did there was walk into it while applying Staying Page as a buff, because I was technically using it and over the proper area for it to use as a desecration. The game kind of did it as both. And so it used the animation of applying a buff without having to do the long animation of applying the stain page to the icon there. So now this has an interesting effect as far as bells go. That was our last safe location stored that we would bell to or respawn at when we put it out. So now if I use a bell anywhere, I'll respawn in the same spot. You can even spawn places you're not supposed to. For example, if I fall down out of bounds, I'm now just down here. However, with my knife jumping, we can get out. Multicasting, we can kill this guy. This is referred to as a bell drop. You can use it to fall very large distances and survive. Technically survive. So what we do in runs is we ladder hover out of here. So I'm right here right now behind this. I'm going to roll and use the bell at the same time, and then hit yes before I hit the ground. Nice achievement get, by the way. And as you see, we fell that huge distance and are now alive and well at the bottom. There's 2 ways you can do this that can give a varying outcome, and you can manipulate it based on what you want to do. So for example, if I wanted to jump off this building, that would most certainly kill me, but you can make a choice when you're doing this in any given circumstances. You want to, if you use the bell immediately, it will consume the bell and generally preserve your salt. So if you have plenty of bells and you also have a large amount of salt that you do not want to get removed because you technically died, then that's what you want to do, is you want to use the bell ASAP. But if all you care about is making the drop and surviving, and maybe even want to keep the bell, but you don't worry about your salt at all, you can even press this after you die technically. There you can see I did the confirmation, but after my character started to die from the fall damage.